Hello everybody. Well, it's a little late tonight, but I'm glad that you're still up and ready to learn. What we're going to go over is how to use variables and loops in a bash script. This is a continuation of something we were working on in the last video. But before I get to that, I want to let you know you are watching the live stream version of this. If you're watching it live, that's great. You should be able to comment on either Facebook, Twitch, or YouTube, and hopefully I'll be able to see those. I'll be checking periodically. But if you're not actually watching this live, I'd recommend that you check in the description for the Beyond Code playlist, which is on YouTube, and there you can see these videos in the order that they're meant to be watched in, and with a little bit of editing, including this part cut out. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and move right along. Well, hello, and welcome. In this video, we're going to go over using bash and variables and loops. So last time we talked about using Markdown to create a simple site, and we had a couple of different files. And what I said was, well, we have the small list of files. We can just create a script where we rerun just on these 3 or 4 files. But if we want to keep on adding more and more articles to our blog, more and more files, then we're going to need to do a little bit better. We're going to need to learn a little bit of scripting. So that's what we're going to do today. So the first thing that I'm going to do, if you remember, we had our site in a folder called srv www. So I'm going to copy that over to my local computer. I'm not going to be working on the server right now. So I'm going to go to duckdns.org, and it was in the SRV folder. I'm just going to copy that SRV folder over here. We already talked about rsync previously. And here we go. All right. Now, as you can see, I've copied over my SRV folder with our www in it. And we've got our HTML. And then we've got our source markdown files. So our goal is, how can we dynamically read however many files are in this folder and create our index file off of that. Then afterwards, we'll do our build of our website. We'll push it back and we'll take a look at it. Actually, we can probably take a look at it locally too. I think we might do that first. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to delete all of these HTML files. We're just going to regenerate them again anyway. And this build script is what we're going to be updating. So I'm going to hit Command K to go ahead and clear that out. And now, just as a quick refresher, well, let me get a little bit deeper into our directories here. We want to get into www, Beyond Code. Okay, so there we are, where our source folder is, where we want all of our HTML files to go, is right here, this working directory. So I'm going to go ahead and run comrack, and I don't remember exactly the options that we used. I think it was like this. Now that I'm on my local computer, I don't have the same settings set up, so I'm going to have to put this into my settings file. But I'm just running it by hand for now. So how domains work was our first one, and we were doing copy paste.html. Let's see, I'm just going to get rid of that option entirely right now. Oops, there we go. What? Let's see, it was provided more than once. Oh, okay, never mind. I was mistaken. This computer does have the options already loaded that we need. Okay, so I'm going to try that one more time. And so now we can use cat. We can see there is our web page. So with that recap out of the way, let's go ahead and start building the new thing. What we want to do is, one, we need to use bash, not fish. So we're not going to switch over to bash. We're just going to create a bash script that we can run, because fish is not a shell for scripting. It's a shell for being nice and friendly and interactive. So I am going to go ahead. I thought I had a build.sh here or something. Where did that go? Is it not in this folder? That's strange. I don't see it. Doesn't matter. We're going to create a whole new one. So I'm going to call it build.sh just because it's kind of a common convention to call your script that converts file formats build or that runs code or compiles code, call it build. So what we need to do is first have a sense of what a variable is, because that's going to be what makes this possible. If we wanted, well, actually, I'm going to back out a touch more. If we wanted to take our build process and replicate it for every file, we would have a bunch of lines, one for every file, and we have to go in and we have to edit this every single time that we want to add a new article to our blog, right? So what we want to do instead is find a way that we can have the same set of behaviors run over and over again, but with different named files. So I'm going to show you an example of this right now. I'm going to create a variable called myFile. Personally, in Bash, whenever I create variables, I like to start them with my, so that it distinguishes them from commands or from environment variables. So this is a special variable for this script, and I'm going to call my file, actually I'm going to call it my article name. That's what I'm going to call it. And the article name is how domains work. So I'm going to get rid of this from here. By the way, I don't know if we've gone over this yet, depending on where you are in the playlist, but YY is how you copy a line in Vim, and V is how you select, and D is how you delete. We'll get more into that later, but just since you're seeing me doing that, I thought I'd highlight it now. Okay, so my article name is how domains work. Now what we do in order to make a variable is we always put variables in double quotes. You'll see people that don't do this. They're wrong. I don't want you to have to learn the hard way why, but we're not going to go into it in this video. But you do put it in quotes, and then you put a $, and then an opening bracket and a closing bracket. So this is how we use a variable. We created a variable by just doing an equals. Oh, and by the way, we should always put single quotes around our variable value. So there we've got that. And then we're going to replace it and use it in both places here. So this will also be my article name. So my article name is a variable. Quotes, $, bracket is how we use it. Like I said, there's a particular reason that we're using the quotes and the brackets. You'll see lots of examples that don't have it. They're wrong. Okay. With that, now what we want to do, the problem here is we haven't really saved ourselves much in typing or anything else. We have defined a variable, we've given it a value, but if we had 10 copies of this, it's just going to do the same thing. So what we need to do is to find a way to get the list of all the files and be able to treat them each individually by assigning them to a variable. So what we're going to do then is go back like this, and I'm going to comment this out, and instead of assigning it to one item, we're going to use a loop. So in Bash, a loop starts with for, and then we give it the name that it should have, which in this case is going to be my article name, and then we say in, and then we give it what it is looping through, and then a do, and then a done. So I'm actually going to put an echo in front of this. Actually, I'm going to comment this out for now so that it doesn't actually do anything. When we put a pound sign in front of something that's commenting out, it won't do anything. It'll be ignored. And I'm just going to echo out my article name. So let me explain what we did here with the star. I think I mentioned this before, but the star is a wildcard. So what this is saying is for this path, src / everything that you can find directly in that path that ends in .html, we're going to treat as the variable my article name. So it's basically creating a list, and it's doing this assignment, my article name equals, and then whatever the name of that file is. Actually, we want to do .md. Sorry. We want to do .md. So that, now we just want to take a look at this. Oh, silly me. I forgot to add my quotes and brackets. We're going to take a look at this, just run it as it is, and see if it works. Okay. So I'm going to run bash build.sh. By the way, I'm using tab because I don't want to get typos. So I use tab so I don't have to type out whole build.sh. I just type B, hit tab, it finishes it out for me, right? Okay, so this is looking pretty good. It's almost doing what we want, but it's giving us the full path of the file, and it's also giving us the extension of the file. We just want the name of the file. We don't want the path. We don't want the extension. So we're going to rely on our two friends, well, actually just our one friend, base name. Base name is a command that when you give it a string, will take the part, it'll strip away the path, and we can also get it to strip away the extension. So this is very useful. Base name gets the file name. Oh no, how did I, the whole time, I forgot the desktop. I'm going to have to start this over. I apologize. I am changing my key binding right now so that this is the default rather than, if I had a nickel for every time I forgot this. Let's see, did we have any comments telling me? Sometimes people tell me, oh, you forgot to do this. All right. Live stream is canceled. I'm sorry, you didn't see any of that. Hey, you know what? No, we're going to finish this out. I'm going to record it again, but we're going to finish this out that way that I can at least have all of my thoughts completed. I cannot believe. Oh, so frustrating. Sorry, give me just a second here and we'll get back to that. I'm just making a note to myself. I just need... All right. Okay. So, you couldn't see my screen, but we'll go ahead along with it. Let's see. Do we have anybody actually viewing this right now? I don't know. I don't know what we got here. Whoops. Okay, but we're going to go along. Okay. So, we're going to use our friend base name. And to do that, we're going to have to reassign this variable. So I'm going to start with the variable that we're going to be reusing, my article name equals, and then we're going to put our double quotes. And this is a little bit strange. We're going to put a $sign and then some parentheses. So what this allows us to do is normally if we run a command like ls, for example, it's going to output the text to the screen. If we put $sign parentheses, if we were to run ls, the output does not go to the screen. Instead, it goes into whatever's receiving it on the other side. In this case, the text will go into a variable. So we're going to run our friend base name, and we're going to give it, again, we're putting quotes, my article name, and then after that, we're going to put .md. Now I want to explain this just a touch, because what's happening here is we've got quotes, and you might think, oh, we've got another quotes. That should end the quote, right? In fact, it's not going to do that because these quotes are nested inside of parentheses. So there are a couple of special cases that we'll encounter where a single quote or a double quote doesn't necessarily end that single quote or double quote because it's nested inside of something else. So this is one of those cases. So what our friend base name is going to do is it's going to take away the path. It's going to get rid of the src slash, And then because we're also giving it the .md, it's going to strip away that from the end. So it knows to strip away the path from the beginning all the way up to the last slash. And because we're telling it, it knows what to strip away from the end. So now when we run this, we should get just the name of the article. Now you see we've also got our index in there. We won't be needing that anymore. I'll get rid of that momentarily. But here we are. So now, in theory, I could write converting and I can uncomment this so that now it actually runs. So let's go ahead and take a look. And voila, we have our HTML files. So with that, whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. With that, now we're ready. I'm going to hit Command K to clear my screen to generate our index dynamically. So what do we want our index to be like? Well, we want it to start with, we're going to do this. We want it to start with a header, AJ's blog. But we've got a little bit of a problem with our quotes, is that we're trying to put a quote inside of a quoted string. So what do we need to do here? Well, it turns out the simplest thing to do is to end the quote, to escape the next quote, and then to open a new quote. So now we have two quoted strings, AJ and blog, and we have an unquoted single quote. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of the extra space there. And then we're going to direct this into a file called index.md. Actually, I'm going to do this up here. There we are. So we're going to put that in there first. And I'm actually going to use printf because we want to put some new lines. So I'm going to put two new lines. So there's going to be AJ's blog and then a space. We're going to run this. And for each of these files, we need to add to our index. And because we want to add, not overwrite, we're going to use two arrows rather than one. So one arrow creates a file, meaning that it erases it if it exists. Two arrows will add to a file. So we want to add to our file. And because we want to use a variable, we need to use double quotes. So we're going to have my article name. And let's see here. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting a little sleepy. I might not redo this tonight, actually. Okay, so I'm getting a little sleepy. I did not mean to repeat that. And so this is going to be the name of the link. And then here, we're going to have the link to the file. Oh, except it's not going to be .html, it's going to be .html. Okay, and I'm going to put this on the next line. If you remember, when we talked about Markdown, you can use a backspace, backslash to be able to escape a new line. And you can do the same thing in Bash. This is pretty common. So I'm using this so that I can put this on two lines instead of just one. All right. I've got that down. Yeah, I'm definitely going to have to redo this tomorrow. I took this on too late. Yeah, I'm losing my train of thought here. Sorry. Okay, so let's put this in list form. There we go. So we're putting markdown and variables inside of these quotes. let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like and make sure that we got it right. I'm going to build this. Oh, something's wrong here. Ah, I know what I need to do. Okay, if you want to start a string with a dash, you have to use a double dash. Because remember, we do things like this, like rsync, we have avhp, or with mkdir, we do -p, and so on. So printf thinks that we're passing it a flag, and we need to tell it, no, we're not. So we're going to give it a double dash up front. Oh, and then we do want to add a new line. Okay. All right. So here is what it looks like. I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. So at this point, I'm pretty confident that I can just go delete this one here. Now, I do like that here we don't have to have the name of the file be the name of the title. We can work around that later. There's a couple things that we could do with that. But since our goal right now is just to get better automation, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. We don't need it anymore because we don't want our auto-generated list to be putting itself in the index. All right, so let's get rid of those indexes. I'm going to hit Command K to clear my screen again, getting back into the build.sh. And then the last thing that we need to do is to build our index file. So that's not down in source. That's right where we are, index.md. And we're going to call it index.html. Okay. And then we could go ahead and we could remove our index.md. And then we'll only have our HTML files in this folder. Let's go ahead and give it a try. Looks like it's working good. Oh, I should probably echo out building index. There we go. Awesome. So now let's take a look at our index file. I'm on Mac, so I can use the command open, and it's just going to figure out what type of file is this, what can I open it in. So it's going to see, oh, this is an HTML file. I know how to open that. I'll open it up in Safari. And indeed, it did open up in Safari on my other window here. Oops. Let's get this a little bit more appropriately sized for the occasion. And here we are. Here's our blog. Now in the future, we will want to do something so that the titles can be arbitrary and not the name of the file. That's called front matter, and we will talk about that another time. But since it is past my Betty Bye, and I'm going to have to redo this tomorrow anyway, for now, we're signing off. I hope you have a good one,